Bolyan Hittite origin, Rigveda, 2026. A re-evaluation of the Varana-Arana-Ilyu-Yanka complex in Hittite Hurrian treaties and the Indo-European Rigveda. The legacy of the Hittites resonates far beyond their ancient Anatolian heartland. Operating from the city of Ni, a pivotal site often cited in the evolution of the Indo-European language family, these masters of history did more than just challenge the Egyptian Empire, they reshaped the cultural DNA of Eurasia. The influence of the Hittites was profound, particularly among Turkic-speaking groups like the Chuvash, whose chief deity's name is thought by some scholars to be rooted in Hittite nomenclature. This connection highlights a deep, often overlooked cultural diffusion that bridged the gap between Anatolia and the Eurasian steppe. Central to this legacy is the figure of Nilus, a character increasingly linked in historical speculation to the persona of a Hittite prince. Whether as a legendary linguist or a cultural architect, his supposed influence on the Indo-European languages, including the roots of Gaelic, positions him as a foundational figure in our shared linguistic development. Understanding the Hittites is essential for grasping the architecture of our modern thought. From their dramatic mythology, such as the epic struggle against the chaos serpent, to their sophisticated administrative and legal systems, they provided a blueprint for civilization. Exploring their history is not merely an academic exercise, it is a journey into the very origins of the concepts, words, and myths that continue to define the contemporary world. Are there specific aspects of Hittite mythology or their linguistic influence on the Indo-European family that you would like to explore further? Abstract. This study posits that the Varana invoked in the famous Hittite Mitanni Treaty, c. 1380 BCE, may represent an Indo-European adaptation of indigenous Anatolian deities, specifically Arana or Ilyu-Yanka, rather than a direct import of a purely Vedic deity. While the Rigveda acknowledges deities whose names coincide with those in the treaty, Mitra, Varana, Indra, Nasatayas, the assumption that these are exclusively Hurrian or Vedic constructs overlooks the syncretic nature of Hittite statecraft. I propose that the name Varana may be a linguistic or functional placeholder for the sun goddess of Arana, or conversely, a mythic reflection of the serpentine figure Ilyu-Yanka. By stripping away post-Christian interpretations of serpent as purely malevolent, Ilyu-Yanka emerges as a primordial, neutral elemental force, functionally comparable to the cosmic oversight and binding authority associated with Varana. 1. Goddess Arana, Origins and Analysis. Arana, Duturu Arana, sun goddess of Arana, is a cornerstone of the Hittite pantheon. It is crucial to distinguish that she is a solar goddess, not a solar god. Historical and archaeological background. Earliest mentions. The earliest references appear in the Old Hittite Kingdom, 17th century BCE, notably within the Anita texts. Clay tablets. Her name is ubiquitous in cuneiform records, including royal annals and rituals, such as the famous prayers of Queen Putu-Hepa. Arana city. While the precise archaeological site remains debated, Alaka-Hoyuk is the most likely candidate. The site predates the Hittites, possessing a Hattian layer from the 3rd millennium BCE, suggesting Arana's roots lie in indigenous pre-Hittite Hattic belief systems. The nature of the goddess. Although scribes utilized the Sumerian logogram, Dutu, typically denoting the Mesopotamian male god Utu, Shamash, the Hittite context is distinct. Arana is the queen of heaven and earth and the patron of the monarchy. She is depicted in prayers as the mother and protector of the ruler, diverging significantly from the martial or judicial characteristics of the male Mesopotamian solar deity. 2. Ilyu-Yanka and the Heartless Tarhunt. The myth of Ilyu-Yanka is a classic chaos kampf, struggle against chaos. The storm god Tarhunt battles the great serpent, Ilyu-Yanka. The nature of the conflict. In ancient Near Eastern mythology, the defeat of a chaos dragon is not an ethical struggle between good and evil, but a restoration of cosmic order, cosmos. In the second version of the myth, after Tarhunt's initial defeat, the serpent removes the god's eyes and heart as trophies. When Tarhunt eventually regains these vital organs through his son's assistance, the narrative underscores the necessity of these elements for the god's functionality and sovereignty. Reinterpreting the serpent. The characterization of Ilyu as evil is often a modern overlay. Within the Hittite worldview, Ilyu is an elemental, chaotic force. Tarhunt's ruthlessness in the myth, often involving stratagems or the sacrifice of his own offspring, reflects the grim necessity of maintaining order against the untamed forces of nature. 3. Comparative linguistics and political legitimacy. The similarity between Varuna and Aruna is likely a linguistic coincidence. Varuna is derived from the Indo-European root wer, to bind, whereas Aruna is an indigenous Hattic toponym. However, the invocation of these names in royal treaties served a vital political purpose. By aligning their local deities with the divine names recognized by the broader Indo-Aryan elite of the Mitanni, the Hittite kings effectively legitimized their imperial authority through a universalized, syncretic theology. Summary. As the data grow from archaeological and linguistical sources, the so-called Indo-European questions can be re-evaluated. In the Hittite pantheon, there are two elements which can serve as the source of Varuna. The name Varuna may be a linguistic or functional placeholder for the sun goddess of Aruna, or conversely, the Hittite serpent can be seen as the source of Varuna, if evaluated in the historical context. Appendix: Varuna in the Rigveda. In the Rigveda, Varuna is a majestic, distant, and sovereign deity, often associated with the cosmic law, RTA. Cosmic sovereignty, he knows the path of birds that fly through heaven, and, sovereign of the sea, he knows the ships that are thereon, Rigveda 1.25.7. The binding authority, unlike Indra, the warrior, Varuna is the guardian of moral and cosmic order. He bears a noose or rope to bind those who violate the cosmic law. Quotations on divine wrath: whatever law of thine, O God, O Varua, as we are men, day after day we violate. Give us not as a prey to death, to be destroyed by thee in wrath, Rigveda 1.25.2. References. 1. Indo-Aryan superstrate in Mitanni, Wikipedia. 2. Here be Indo-Aryans. On the Vedic gods of the Mitanni, Arya Akasha. 3. Vedic influence in ancient Middle East, Indrasphere. 4. Anida text, Wikipedia. 5. The Proclamation of Anidas, Linguistics Research Center. 6. Hittite language proclamation of King Anida, Reddit. 7. Ilwianka, Wikipedia. 8. Ilwianka, Dragons Fandom. 9. The Two Faces of Varuna, Devdutt Patanaik. 10. Varuna, the Elder God, Akalesh Sabharwal. 11. Bolyan Anita, Papers, www.academia.edu.